ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
(9:21) if you're in Alberta. We're starting a little bit late today. Welcome to Heavy Hockey and Oilers Live Tuesday. Yeah, just getting going a little bit late. Of course, needed some audio to get us started. Thanks for the little heads up there, Mr. Kirk Morris, who's my guest tonight. We're going to chat about a lot of different things, mostly Oilers hockey, maybe a few other things around the league. You got us for about an hour tonight. Welcome to the show, Kirk. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, man. As usual.
Yeah, you're still flying that Montreal Canadiens jersey in the background after tonight's game.
Yeah, not the greatest of performances. Buffalo took him to the woodshed, pretty much.
yeah, I'd say you might say that. Yeah. Our friends over at World Hockey Report called the game early. Said 20 goals. Looked like the Sabres might score 20. Skinner had a hell of a game. A couple goals. Tage Thompson continues to light it up. I don't know if he's going to get the 60 or 70 goals you thought, but
I said 50 or 40.
I don't know what you say. You might have said
such
40.
a long time ago there,
you might
too.
have said 40. It's hard to say. I don't know. But you know what? I'm the host of the show. I can say whatever the hell I want, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you joining me tonight. We've got I mean, it's Oilers hockey, so there's always lots to talk about. Season's on. I mean, it is what it is. It's going the way it's going. Oilers are 10-9, 20 points through 19 games. I mean, we're almost a quarter of the way through the season. We're getting up to that point. 2 games away from the quarter point. What's your assessment so far? I mean, is this really bad, or is it still early, or what's your view on the Oilers world?
Well, I put it out on Twitter there the other night after the game between Edmonton and New Jersey, and I asked people if they're ready to hit the panic button just yet, and there's a few people there that have lifted the plastic cover and they got the hand hovering over the button. I'm pretty much in the same boat. I'm the one word that comes to mind is disappointed. It's I hate to lean back on the goaltending, but I thought Campbell would be, he's 6-4. It's nothing to bitch about, but on the other hand, his confidence is wafer thin, and especially what happened to him last night.
Man.
he's had the kitchen sink thrown at him now, literally. So, but he shook it off there. He seems fine there from today's presser, and he said he's ready to get back in there. But just overall, I thought the bottom six, not so much the top six. I thought the bottom six would have been a hell of a lot better, and it hasn't. It's just been
that's
flat.
the case every year with the Oilers, right? I mean, is secondary scoring.
Yeah.
How much of that, though? I've wondered about this since Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl both kind of came on board. Like, how much of that is those guys eat up so much ice time that as a bottom six guy, you're just left getting cold on the bench and you can't get a rhythm going. I mean, the flip side is, if you're Woodcroft or any coach that has those guys in the lineup and you dare play them less than you play them, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're going to get fired, right, if your team doesn't do well.
Yeah.
On the other side, I mean, maybe you play them a regular. I mean, Connor McDavid regularly leads the league in minutes for a forward, right?
Or he's up there pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, he's almost
Top
always
five.
every year, right? And I mean that's it's Connor McDavid, so you put him out there, but as another player that's on the team, I mean, how do you look? How do you look at that? I mean, how do you judge that? I don't think that there's anything you can say. Yeah, if I look at, I was curious, so I wanted to take a look. And in terms of forwards right now, Connor McDavid is at 22 minutes of ice time on average per night, and there's only one other forward that meets or is close, or actually beats him on that, and that's Barkov in Florida.
Right.
Oh, and Nathan McKinnon. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So the three of them. Mind you, I mean, so maybe that destroys that thought process, right? I mean, they, if I'm not mistaken, both Florida and Colorado don't have the same challenge we have, which is bottom six scoring.
Yeah, well, they're pretty balanced, right? So even look at Colorado last year. They just came after teams wave after wave. It didn't matter who was on the ice, whether it was JT Compher or Gabriel Landeskog or Nathan McKinnon or even Cale Makar. Like it didn't matter. Like the forwards defense, they were solid. So and just as you said, like it seems to be the missing link for the Oilers is to have balance. And it's just like even last night there Woodcroft, deferred to the nuclear deterrent again. Like he had Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the same line there for a bit.
Yeah.
Just to generate something. And you wish you had a little bit more down below. Even on the third line there, it's been kind of flat as of late there, even with McLeod. But
So here's the flip side to that. I mean, because the Oilers still, I mean, we continue to ask year after year for secondary scoring. But is it really that important for a team that, is with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl that still leads or is, up there in the top half of the league in goals for every year? I mean, the real challenge, on this team is not overall scoring, right? I mean, that, if there's a team that's capable of putting 5 up on the board night after night, it's the Oilers,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, so are we, should we be worried about secondary scoring? Or is, the only challenge on this team defense, which, I'll pat myself on the back, was something I called out, well before the year started. But you didn't need to be a genius to know that. How does this team change that? Like what, I mean, there's talk right now. I think Rashog, if I'm not mistaken, said this team needs a top 4 D man, right? Like it's interesting. I mean, Bouchard was trending on Twitter tonight. I don't know if you knew that or saw that.
Probably not for all the right reasons either.
No, I mean, there's, it's like any player that's in an Oilers uniform. There's 50% of the team that loves the guy, and another 50% that would ship him to the moon if they could. And Bouchard, is every year it seems the Oilers have a whipping boy, and right now it's Bouchard. He's been hitting a lot of shin pads and but he's still a kid, right? He's not doing as well as he did last year. I mean, how's this league going to change this, right? I mean, this team? How's this team? How's the team going to change the defense? I mean, they've got to go to the well somehow.
Yeah, I'd say promote within, but you look at Broberg and he's pretty much in the same boat. Like, so you look elsewhere, but teams around the league are going to throw you boat anchors, not life preservers, right? So
Yeah,
unless if you're willing to pay.
Durst is on YouTube. He says it's a 3-2 league now, and you can usually count on Connor and Leon to be responsible for 2 of those. So at least 2. I mean, I think those top 2 lines are good for 3 goals most nights, right? And
Yeah.
and on average, we average over 3 goals a night. I think 66 goals for over 19 games. That's over 3 goals a night. You got whether they're scoring those two or they're responsible for them. Connor and Leon, they're good for 3. They're good to win this team games just based on goals for. If it's a 3-2 league, let's go with Thursa's point. How do we stop leaking goals? You brought up Jack Campbell. He's not as good as we thought he'd be. Confidence problem, whatever it is, right?
Equipment issues too.
Equipment issues. Yeah. I mean, that's right. Like, that's a big part of it. What's nobody wants to, you included, seem to, people get upset when you go straight to goaltending coaching. But it's year after year. But hear me out. Year after year, goaltending seems to be a challenge, right? Where was Skinner, who's been, I think, great this year, and last night, those were some pretty decent shots, right? That went by him. I don't think some people might say he didn't have a great game. I didn't think a couple of those shots that Bratt goal right off that was a bullet.
Yeah, you can't stop that. Yeah.
No, that's it takes a pretty special goaltender to stop that.
His puck handling last night was somewhat Mike Smith-esque on the bad side of things.
Yeah.
But it happens. Like, you're going to have bad nights like that, especially as a rookie. That's where the team bails the goaltender out. And they failed them big time. Like,
I agree.
How many games do you play where your goaltender bails your arse out and you get by the skin of your teeth? Like, you seen that at versus Chicago, where Campbell was in. Granted, he wasn't all good that game, but he got the team to win. Like, how many more times, and it's just, it all comes back down to defense, especially in their own end. It's not so much in the neutral zone; it's in their own end. Just the assignments, missed assignments, just brain farts galore. Like, especially
so is it a
last
personnel
night.
issue? Is it a defensive system issue?
I'm not in the room, so I can't.
I'll tell you, I think 100% it's a personnel issue. When I look at this lineup, right, like, there's no doubt in my mind. In fact, the only person that I thought maybe might come in and change that would be Manson. I thought might have some ability to get in there and change the defensive system to a point where this unit of 6 or 7 guys, depending on the night, could go out there and play a good defensive system. Right? I thought Manson had that capability. In fact, early on this season, I said defense will be a problem, but we also have Manson full time, right? Like, we're from the start of the season, and so we'll see, a different system. We'll see how well they play. They've been garbage, right? Like, honestly,
Pretty
garbage
much.
from a goals against perspective, which is the only real stat that matters. Keeping the puck out of the net, it's been garbage. And Neil says it. It can be both, but it's a personnel issue in my mind. When I look at the lineup and I look at that, that top 6, and you can take 7 or 8 on top of that, there's not a one of those folks in there, sad to say, Darnell Nurse included, that I'm confident will stop guys from going down the ice. Yeah, it'll stop, that hey, Darnell Nurse is back there. Don't worry, we got it covered, right? There's not, I don't have that, and I love Nurse, guys. Like, people are gonna get on me for saying, something about Nurse. I like Nurse, and he's been a great Oiler. He played on a value contract for a couple of years. I don't blame a guy for a contract that he gets. So let's get off of that right now, because get the contract that the team gives you.
He earned it.
Right? Yeah, he earned it.
Yeah, he earned it.
Good on him. And he signed it. They offered it to him. He signed it. you know.
Yep.
So good on him. The contract doesn't matter. It's how they play the game. And right now, Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci, Bouchard. Honestly, Tyson Barrie has been maybe the one guy that surprised me this year, right? Like he's performed better than I expected. I'm not going to say he's a defensive juggernaut, but he's performed better than I expected, right? Like he's a guy that's, elevated his game in my level. Like you get out of him what you ask for, which is offense, right? He had a good 2-goal game the other night. CC, let's be honest, when the Oilers got CC, nobody expected anything. So he's played better than expected.
They expected the Ottawa and Toronto CC, not the Pittsburgh CC.
Exactly. Right.
But
so look, this lineup, the defense is just not good enough personnel wise. I don't know. I mean, maybe Neil is listening in on YouTube. Maybe you got some idea, like maybe Manson's not the right guy for a system. Maybe we need somebody again, like another Duncan Keith, to come in and take Bouchard under his wing. Do you trade Bouchard? Like it seems maybe 20 to 30% of the Oilers fan base thinks is the right thing to do. Do you trade Barrie? Who, as I just said, is one of the guys that I think is actually playing better this year. Now, go on to Twitter and check out Bob Stoffer, who finds the best in everyone typically, and he's paid to do that. He's talking about Bouchard's PDO, right?
Yep.
So the Oilers just aren't successful when he's on the ice, right? So, it might make him look a little worse than he is. He's somebody else made the comment, and I wish I could find the tweet, but it's reasonable, is that Bouchard's not necessarily a shin pad assassin, which it seems like he is lately, but that he takes more shots than everybody else. And so he's going to hit more shin pads in relation to everyone else. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Personally, I think it is a personnel issue to a degree, but I think it's just between years. Some nights, like they aren't mentally focused, or maybe they went out on the town the night before and everybody's a little brain fogged, or hungover or whatever it might be, playing video games, whatever. But it just, like the one game that stood out to me the most, where they played 60 minutes top to bottom, was versus Tampa. I thought they played, granted they got outshot there in the first period, just like a lot of games this season, but they weren't. It seemed like they weren't rushed. Like they didn't scramble. They didn't seem like they were out of place. Like everybody seemed to know their assignment. And I think that's where the structure came into play. Like where I don't know if Woodcroft literally stapled it to their forehead, say, hey, this is the way you play. And same with Manson, but it just seems like they're out of focus. And I think it's partially structure. Like when Woodcroft came in last season, took over Tippett, he tweaked things. He didn't go full blast. Oh, I'm gonna reinvent the wheel type of deal. So it could be a myriad of things. We're not privy to what happens in the locker room and the chatter and all that stuff, or what's happening behind the scenes, but it just seems like they're not on the same page as a whole, as a team. Like the team defense just isn't clicking.
Yeah.
And what do you do? What do you do to remedy it? Do you make a trade? And like I said there before, like you're going to have to pay. to get a top four demon like Rashog suggested there this morning, you're going to have to pay through the teeth for one. I hate to say it. You're going to have to give up at least one of your prized possessions that's down in Bakersfield, plus probably a first round pick. They talked about Gavrikov and, or pardon me, I heard there today with Saravalli and Stauffer. Like for Gavrikov, they're from Columbus. You're going to be paying automatically first round pick, and Lord knows what else, you know.
So
and Gavrikov isn't a shining beacon of light. He's a good defenseman analytically, but
are we at first round pick territory?
Sorry, say that again.
Are we in first round pick territory? I mean, are we in that stage of the elevation of this Edmonton Oilers team where a first round pick needs to be looked at as trade material?
Well, you know how Holland covets them, unlike his second round picks. So
I mean, it depends on the week here whether you love or hate Holland, right? And at 10,
last
10
night's
and 9,
Twitter feed there was pretty much in the sewer. So.
Right at 10 and 9, I mean, it's going to be 50-50. The Oilers go on a 3 or 4 game win streak, and people love Holland and the way the team's put together, and I look. Neil's on YouTube. For those listening in on the other channels, he says, this is a good statement too. Looking forward to playing the bottom half of the league. Right? It's not been the easiest schedule so far for the Oilers.
Yeah.
Right?
It's been pretty good competition so far, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know. Sorry to barge in here, but yeah, I think I wouldn't say smash the panic button just yet, but they got to take a good long look in the mirror. Like they've got to play like a team, not individualistic. Like, yeah.
So let's talk about last night before we talk about New York Islanders, because they're upcoming. Last night, Oilers played New Jersey Devils, and if you're on Twitter, you're on whatever, YouTube, Twitch, you name it, listening in, I'd like to get your thoughts, because I want to know what everybody thinks of that game. I know what you think of the game, because we're in a group chat together, and I've chatted with you about it a little bit. Here's my view so that you can respond to it. I actually look. I had to leave about midway through the game. In fact, it was 3-1 when I left. It was 8 minutes left in the second period. I had my own hockey game to get to, and so I went and watched the replay afterwards. I thought the Oilers were playing a good game in that first half of the game. In fact, I thought that was one of the most solid performances the Oilers had put together in a while, outside of the fact that Jesper Bratt had like a bullet of a shot off the start of the game, which, we get on the Oilers for shitty starts. I thought that, a couple of the penalties against the Oilers early were pretty ticky-tack. Yeah. And I hate complaining about the officials, but it seems to be, at least lately, that there's been, enough of these little ticky-tack, like shit penalties. And that one really hurt us on a hell of a shot by Bratt. But I thought the Oilers, they came back right away, scored. They had a good, good power play as well that they narrowly missed. I thought Vanacek was playing really solid, the kind of game that Oilers fans would love to see out of one of their goalies at least once in a while, right? Like I thought, I thought the game, being a game of inches, right? Like the Oilers deserved a better result in that first sort of half of the game. I thought that Skinner bobble is really what sort of turned the tides on the game. Like this, it's a 5-2 game, but I think you take out that Skinner bobble and you take out a couple of those ticky-tack power or penalties, and it's a whole different match. I thought they came out flying. I don't know that this is the game that I, start screaming about for the Oilers. and that's a challenge. I hate moral victories, right? Because that's what we talked about when the Oilers, went through a decade of darkness. We talked about a lot of moral victories.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it was, the Oilers did everything. They were in the game. But last night I thought the Oilers were in at least the first half of the game. It just wasn't going their way. And when it hit 3-1, it became obvious. I didn't expect to come home, watch the end of the game, and see a different result. Although when Nuge scored to make it 3-2, I thought, well, maybe they could rally behind that, but they just didn't. And all the things that we complain about for the Oilers, they came true last night. Goaltending wasn't stellar, right? Shades of Mike Smith out there playing the puck and screwing up and making a big difference. And then he did it again later, right? He almost lost it again later. I don't know.
Well, he did kind of flub their making a slide over on that third goal, and he tripped himself literally. Like, he lost his edge, tripped himself, and left the left-hand side of the goal literally open, which they got it. So
now Jack Campbell stopped the puck last night, and obviously he's not as badly injured as maybe the worry was, but it helped his save percentage go up a little bit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't count. But.
Yeah, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. I mean, what's the word? Is he good enough to play tomorrow night?
Well, as far as what he said there, they have to get the thumbs up from the doctors, but I think Campbell will go. He's a pretty tough cookie there. Like, he played through a rib injury last year with the Leafs.
Yeah.
And as everybody knows, or most people know, it's pretty hard. Like, when you can't breathe or when you can't rotate, you're in pain. So when it comes to goaltending, to have that core flexibility, it's everything. So yeah, I think for him to play through somewhat of a rib injury there last year, I think a broken nose will be small potatoes for him. But I think by the looks of his demeanor there today during that little press appearance there, I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, he was laughing and smiling and seemed all right.
Being pretty loose, yeah. So I think they will give him a shot there again, and who knows, maybe he'll stand on his head and go on a run, just like last year. Who knows, and he even admitted there today, like at the conference there, he said, I've never had this bad of a start in my career. It's just generally, historically, it's just October and then going into November, he's in a rhythm. Like, so I would assume that he's going to play tomorrow and try to get him up and running again. You would think, anyways.
Yeah, it would, if not for the injury, he was going to start against the Islanders anyway, right? Or you have to think, unless if Skinner just had some type of unbelievable performance, which, as we know, he didn't have. Skinner's played well. I mean, but you can't. You've got to ask. You've got to expect some regression for a guy that is first full-time season in the league, right? And there's a lot of people thought, this is our guy. We're going forward. He's our new starter, right? Like, no, like something. I said this a couple weeks ago, if not last week. If Skinner gets more games than Campbell at the end of the year, something's gone incredibly wrong.
Exactly.
And we're 10-9, so something's gone incredibly wrong, right? Like, we should have a better result. And you know what? We've had a number of games where we just started out slow, right? Like, maybe that's the key. Maybe it's not defense. Maybe it's those slow starts. I don't know what it is, but whatever the case, Campbell's got to get in there. He's got to have a good game. It's got, if assuming he's good enough to play, he's got to get in there tomorrow night, and he's got to play his heart out. He's got to show the Oilers, what they signed. This is the guy they signed. Otherwise, we're just sitting there listening to Leafs fans beat us and say, "Oh yeah, well we knew." This is what we expected,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Well,
and
even when he played for the Leafs, it was 50-50, right? Like when he was playing great, you'd figure, oh yeah, sign him up for the Vezina, and then when the other shoe fell off, it was can't wait to get rid of him, and bring up, whoever else, or bring back Freddie type of deal. But anyways, just yeah, like I, as you said, they're the starts. The starts is the biggest key. If they come out a half decent pace, that's the one thing I forgot to talk about was New Jersey's speed there last night. Like it's so reminiscent of that Colorado team last year in the playoffs, where it was a track meet. You had to keep up, and for the most part this year, like the Oilers kept up to their speed, especially against that first game at home. Like I thought they played toe to toe
yeah,
and matched speed, but it's just opportunities, perked up, and then puck luck, if you want to call it, turn the tide, and they know how to pounce on opportunities. Like it's just, and they're on a heater. Like what can you say? If everything's going right, you're on cloud nine. You just can't do no wrong. So
So I think it was Nugent Bowman said today, lines in practice. Puljujarvi elevated to the second line with Draisaitl and Nuge.
yep.
So Fogle put down with McLeod and Costin. Costin's been outstanding, by the way. Like, there's a
He's been
guy
steady.
that, I mean, outstanding for a guy that, you is a call up and is playing third line minutes. It's
Oh yeah.
let's put this all in perspective, I guess.
He's been awesome, man. Like throwing the body around, at least trying to be, trying to do something rather than just, unfortunately, like Holloway's just. But anyways, yeah, he's been awesome. Like you can't ask for any more.
Oh,
Like,
sorry.
he's-
Dursa corrected me. Fogel was elevated to the top line. Janmark moved down. That's right.
oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to remember, and I think, yeah.
JP wasn't a top six there today. He was wearing a top six sweater in practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for sure. And then last night, by the way, which I've been saying, I'd like to. I just don't know how to put this team together, right? With and here's this bugs me too. Is you've got Evander Kane out, but we talked early on this season that offensively this team was deep. So a loss of Evander Kane shouldn't be the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where the secondary scoring that you're talking about makes the difference, right? Where you expect a little bit more out of people that they can go into that top six and still perform. That guys like Puljujarvi in and out of the top six, when they get there, they'll put up the points, right? I mean, Puljujarvi's maybe been, sadly, one of the bigger disappointments in terms of actual finish on that top six.
Yeah, that seems to be the storyline for ever since he came back from Finland, except for, the first half of last year, he did good. And then he got injured, he got COVID, he just one thing after another. It was just like what happened. Well, I shouldn't say like what happened here this year, Kane got injured and then, that Jersey game wasn't the greatest. It seemed like after that Jersey game, just everything seemed to fall apart. I don't know, like, and you get the blender out or the bingo machine out and choose a ball. Okay, well, Fogel's going to go on the third line here today, and Yamo's going to play top six, and just it's a revolving revolving wheel of doom. I think, I don't know, because nobody's producing. So
Is Woodcroft to blame in any of this? Is he, should he be playing the, guys a little bit more regular? Should he be playing the lines? I mean, this is a pretty standard, NHL coach puts lines in the blender if, you only got so much time up there. But, is this a team needs a little bit more consistency in the lines?
it's the equivalent of throwing shit against the wall and seeing hopefully something sticks, right? Like that's what happened to Fogel. And don't get me wrong, Fogel's been great. Like especially playing with Draisaitl there. Like I thought he's been I think the confidence is there. So yeah, it's hard. It's tough to figure this shit out, man. Like it's just I it's like years past when Connor got hurt, and then Leon would elevate his game, and he would bring everybody. He would take the entire team on his shoulders, and and pull out wins out of their arses. Like, so I don't know if another injury has to happen before everybody really clues in, or I don't know. It's just frustrating,
Yeah.
Like you'd figure along with the defense, like just once again, maybe it's systematic. Who knows? Like when you have no confidence, everything falls apart pretty much, right?
Yeah, there's one guy we forgot about, and it's they're talking about him in the chat, which is Yamamoto. So I guess that's there's a guy that we expected in top 6. It's also out, so that's 2 of your top 6 guys that are out so far. Yamamoto is not looking great. He didn't travel with the team.
Yep.
So not sure when. Some people suggested maybe it's post concussion.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, obviously Kane's out, Yamamoto's out.
Well, what would you do, Mike? Like, what would be the solution on your, if you were Woodcroft, or even if you were a Holland, what would like bring in a hype man, before the games to pump the boys up? Like, I think that's, and even Stauffer touched on it there today. Like when they had Smith, he would psych everybody up. So is that a solution? Do you bring in a hard-nosed vet, or what's your take on it?
Bring back Jones. Bring back the hair. Bring back Jones.
Bring back the
Isn't
flow,
he playing
yeah.
in Germany? He's playing in Germany.
I
Yeah,
think
he was
he's done,
when
but he
he might have retired
play
by
for
now.
Cologne. He did play
Yeah,
for Cologne, though.
That's
yeah.
right. Wayne Simmons was placed on waivers.
Yeah.
There's a possibility.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, waivers are always a funny thing, right? If somebody goes on waivers and right away everybody, especially in Oiler land, says, pick them up. And
yeah.
not realizing how waivers works, that we don't necessarily get first draw.
Nope,
And
you
the
don't
guy's
get
got
first dibs.
to be in your lineup, right?
Yep, exactly. You can't
so-
scratch him.
Yeah. I mean, first off, I don't like, I look at this lineup, and I really want to try. I would love, I'd love to get on Woodcroft's calendar and have a little chat with him. But and people disagree with me, but I'd love to see Nuge go back to the third line. And I'd love to have McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nuge all running a line.
Yeah.
Especially,
Add
now
more
that
balance.
Costin's in and he's seemingly doing all right, it does open things up a little bit. I think, it doesn't matter who you put with McDavid, right? Although I love Hyman and McDavid. Like I love that duo. And,
Yep.
you put Draisaitl with, try him with Puljujarvi. Find somebody on, a winger for Draisaitl that's going to work. Maybe it is, a Costin guy, right? But, the thing with Draisaitl and why Yamamoto, I think, worked so well is Yamamoto's puck retrieval was next level when he's on his game,
Yep.
Like
Oh, yeah.
he gets in there,
Water
he gets the
bug.
puck, and and it's awesome. Like it's fun to watch when he's on his game. Clearly, he wasn't. Something was going on.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see that happen, and I'd be all right with, and we saw it last night in Jersey, elevating McLeod to Connor's line for a little while, see where that is.
Yeah.
Keep Puljujarvi in the top 6 for an extended length until he either plays himself completely off the team or plays himself into a top 6 role, right? But get it in his head that that's where he's staying, right? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, give him the
Yep.
confidence to know that he's there, and then you've got those top 3 lines, and who the hell cares who's on line 4? And when you got Draisaitl and McDavid, eating up the minutes they eat up, and then Nuge is still going to get his time, right? He's still going to be on the power play. He's
Yep.
still going to be on the PK. I'm curious, and anybody on YouTube, I was thinking about this because I realized we're seeing Connor get played on the PK at the start of the PK lately. Are we not seeing Draisaitl on the PK anymore?
Kinda, yeah. It's kind of been a rotation, but I've noticed as of late, I'm not gonna lie, I'm with you. Like I've seen Connor more than Leon, but
And so that leads me to another thing, if that's true, and I'll have to check the stats out. I don't know where I find PK minutes. Natural stat trick, maybe.
yeah, the
I'm gonna
extended
check
stats
out.
on NHL.com.
Yeah. They don't have
That'd probably
PK
be-
minutes on NHL.com, I don't think.
Oh, okay. That's
Anyway,
probably
I
natural
want to
stat
check
trick.
because I feel like we haven't, and leads me to another thing which has been suggested is Draisaitl either maybe still injured or re-injured. Is he just injured? Right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
could be. Yeah, yeah. It's a tough call.
Oh, I like how you added that in there. Tough call.
That was
I
not
like
that was not intended, by the way. That was strictly there off the top of my head.
little
Shout out
tough
to
call.
Josh.
Yeah. All right. So we've
Oh,
got
man.
we talked about New Jersey last night. Talk about defense. Talk about lines, top lines. Let's get first off. I just want to say it sort of middle of the way. I want to say if you're listening in Twitter, Twitch, whatever, try to go to YouTube. We usually get a decent audience there live, and hit subscribe. Could use your subscriptions, and just love when guys start talking in the chat. Kind of makes it a little bit more interactive. Love that. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Neil, Kelly, Dursa, everybody else. Let's talk about Islanders. Islanders coming in. They've been. I don't know. I mean, this is a team where you just don't know what to expect from them now, right? Year over year, right? Like they. I mean, they're sitting with 24 points. They're 12-8 on the year, 6-4 in their last 10. Won their last outing. Who were they playing against last?
I think they played against Toronto and they lost.
No, they
if I'm
won
not
in
mistaken.
overtime.
Or no, they won in overtime.
Yeah, they won in
Right.
overtime.
Right. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean they. Barzell obviously is superstar in the league. Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, these guys are getting decent goaltending. Obviously, maybe one of the better duos in the league, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Sorokin and
Varlamov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like either of which would be a starter on the Oilers right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems unfair.
That'd
Should be a rule
definite.
against that. Right.
Yeah, no, Sorokin there. He's been pretty steady there. A lot of people are penciling him in there for tomorrow night there too, but I don't know. My spidey senses are tingling there. I think they're going to play Varlamov because Varlamov has a history against the Oilers of being one tough cookie to crack there.
Yeah, and if anything, the
Memory serves
Oilers
me
are
right. I'm
great
not sure.
at you know the old whatever's happened to them in the past seems to be a reoccurring problem for them.
Yeah.
Games early, then they got a couple nights off and go into play the Rangers. I think they're right now they're experiencing East Coast travel, which is nice, right? Probably a bit of a break for them actually. Like an East Coast road trip's not really like the same kind of road trip. You could have a Western road trip and travel around the world 10 times on your way.
Yeah, pretty
Right? Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I mean, you're going from New Jersey to New York
Long
Islanders
Island.
to Long Island
Yep.
and
Yep.
then into New York, play the Rangers. Goaltending obviously going to be a challenge. I think McDavid's due. Like he's had some moments in the past, like he always does. But I feel like he's due for a big game, like a big game.
Yeah.
Like he's seeming to get a little bit frustrated, and he's going to break out in one of these games where 3-4 point night for sure, which we always expect at some point he will, but he's just kind of had that next level. But the puck, he seemed to be fighting the puck a little bit in New Jersey. Like the puck was
We
bouncing on him. I don't know if it's the ice or what it was.
even that Vegas game there, he commented he was absolute crap there for 40 minutes there up until the third period, and then that's where he broke loose. And so yeah, once again, maybe it's a confidence thing or mojo thing or who knows. Like you gotta go until you find that mojo again, right?
Yep.
So there's no other way around it. But I think I hate to sound like a broken record. Your goaltender, he is your savior. He is your last line of defense, and me just like I said, maybe that pet puck there they're missing like a Duncan Keith. So, but yeah, no, you can dissect it right down to every last hair, but at the end of the day, you just gotta go out and play.
So
Plain and
sorry,
simple.
who was it that said they needed somebody to get in there and do a pep talk, or is that
Uh,
just something you're thinking?
well, it's just like a Mike Smith or even a Duncan Keith, like a vet.
Oh no, sorry, I thought
Once
you
again,
said somebody mentioned that, like that somebody
oh
had
no,
said,
no,
yeah,
no, no, that was just off the top of my head. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to think though at some point, like Draisaitl and McDavid have got to take the reins as that veteran leadership, right? Like they're not newbies in the league anymore, right? And these
no,
guys are superstars. I mean, they've been there. We keep talking about needing veterans. Nuge is as veteran as they get now, right? The
pretty
only
much
thing
he's
that,
the oldest player on the team,
yeah, yeah, I mean,
or longest Oiler, actually, longest serving Oiler on the team. So you'd figure
yeah,
he'd be, you know, the old man strength, I guess, or whatever. Even though he looks like he's younger than he should be, but
yeah. I mean,
yeah, it
that's the only
just
thing is he looks young, but I mean, you got him and Tyson Berry's a couple of years older.
yeah,
It's not like this team is super young.
no, it's well, Kane was in his 31 or 32.
31, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, they're all in their prime right now. You'd figure you'd figure that Leon would say enough is enough, or same with Connor. Like he get annoyed to the point where he'd start maybe throwing shit across the room or something. Who knows? Like I said, who knows what's happening in that room? Could be division or
And Zach
I
Hyman, I
don't
mean,
know.
you couldn't ask for a better leader than Zach, and he's one of the older players out there. He's 30
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
yeah,
he brings it every night. I just don't know that leadership and veteran presence is maybe it is on the defensive side, But you'd hope to get some of that. Cody Cece's not new to the league. You'd hope to get some of that from him.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested on Twitter, I'm curious what everybody thinks about this. I think it's an awful idea, but Nurse with Bouchard. Silence.
Do you want a nuclear
silence
explosion
everywhere.
there too? Like,
Yeah.
bring out the old Tom Rennie bingo ball machine there
Yeah.
too. Like, eesh.
Something's got to be done
Yeah,
on
well-
the defensive side. Whether it's system, whether it's personnel, just something has to be done. And honestly, like this team is going to either have to have, is just going to have to be streaky and get, put together 5 or 6 games based on pure confidence and joy alone, night after night. But I just can't I don't know. I mean, it's like with the defense as it is, this team is a 500 team, right? Just look at the standings. If you look at the standings and you look up and down the standings at goal differential will typically tell you if you're in the top half of the league or if you're in the bottom half of the league in both points and otherwise, right? Like goal differential is the easiest one. The only one that has a negative goal differential in the top half of the league are the LA Kings.
Yeah, go figure.
Other than that, everybody's got a positive goal differential. Right? In fact, it's pretty much right at the midline.
Yep. Yeah, right at 16. St. Louis.
So right now,
Minus
the
6.
Oilers are sitting at -3 through 19 games. So, and they're right, surprise, surprise, right near the midline.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And Rashog said there this morning, like the parity in this league, you got your top 4 there with Boston, New Jersey, Vegas, and Dallas. And then after that, it just pretty much falls right off the table. And you got a whole bunch of mediocrity.
And
So-
I mean, you got Colorado, who is also in that +19 goal differential, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tells you, right? Like, if you want to be in the top part of the league, you got to get the goals down, right? Like the Oilers, goals for are in the top half of the league.
Yep.
So
There's not a problem.
So that's not a problem. So secondary scoring, not a problem. Right? Like, guys have said on here, Nuge is getting points, right? Hyman's getting some points. I think McLeod's got a few goals on the year.
So is
Yeah.
Ryan, yeah.
Barry had a couple the other night. I don't know. I mean, this is, do you need offense to help on defense? You need guys with more of a 200-foot game?
Maybe, yeah. Just once again, being defensively responsible for consistent. Just be consistent, like they played in that Tampa game. Like just don't play out of your head. Play to your strengths. Keep it simple. It's not rocket science. That's the one thing. And like last night there again, like opportunities struck for New Jersey, and they capitalized. Whereas if you see that McLeod play there, he nearly scored. Once again, opportunity. They were there. They literally glanced off the player's skate there right before the goal line. If McLeod scored, it could have been a different hockey game right there too, right?
Yeah.
So do you size it up to puck luck as well? And just say like the hockey gods are going to turn the tide. Hopefully, you get a couple bounces go your way, and then all of a sudden you get a little bit of confidence, a little bit of juice, and then away you go. We're off to the
That's
races
PDO,
again.
right? Maybe Bouchard, the PDO goes back up.
Yeah,
Right?
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
maybe he's, you trend towards the midline, right?
Yeah, you assassinate a few less shin pads, and
Yeah.
and actually get a few pucks on that there, and and same thing like I said before, like with Jesse Puljujärvi, like it's just the finishing. Like if he finishes, and I've seen it on Twitter, like the barrage. Well, Woodcroft's getting the finish checks, and they're screwing with his mind, and I'm like, well, they're trying to help him. Like, so do you throw the kitchen sink at the guy and just say, hey, you know? But at the end of the day, it's all up to the player. It's up to the player to decipher it all.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is up to the players. They got to come through, right?
Yeah.
They, I don't know if I'm, the more you listen to old pros, I don't know if the team meetings mean jack shit anymore. But look, something's got to happen. Something's got to break, right? They got to go one. They're going to go one way or the other, obviously, right?
I gotta ask you something there too, man. Like, do you buy the the matinee jinx as well?
well, I mean,
Like,
it's certainly got to be in their head, right?
because they're
I mean,
playing one there
yeah.
on Saturday again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's in the head, right? Like it's mental for sure. Yeah, I don't know how much of that. Like, you're. I think one thing that isn't talked about very often, but it's talked about once in a while, is the Oilers have one of the toughest travel schedules in the league.
yeah,
Right?
they've been all over the map already.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
stop
And
and think about it.
just all over the map, but they're going from Edmonton to everywhere. Right? They're going from, probably one of the smallest airports in the league to everywhere. Right? They're one of the is it northernmost city in the NHL, right? By a long shot. There's a lot of factors that play into that. So, they've got a little bit to overcome.
Yeah.
I think, when you add in this type of crap where you're playing an evening game, then a matinee game, and you've got all those other factors in, it's not going to help, right? I mean, it's it is what it is, but you can't. You're only complaining if you're losing, right? Yeah. If you're winning games, then don't mean jack shit. And then if it's if it's in the playoffs, I mean, maybe that plays into your advantage. I don't know. They do say playing in Calgary and Colorado is actually an advantage for Calgary and Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the higher elevations.
Yeah. All right. I mean, we're pretty close to an hour here. I think I'm kind of curious what's your thoughts on tomorrow's game and the Rangers game upcoming. You think the Oilers can pull it off? They need to win. I think they need to win both. I don't know that. I mean, we're approaching. This is American Thanksgiving, Thursday, Friday. The old saying is, if you're not in a playoff spot by American Thanksgiving, they are on the cusp right now, officially out of a playoff spot at 20 points, but the 4 teams at that wild card spot all have 20.
Yeah.
Can they win back to back? What are your thoughts?
Well, just once again, like if they start strong, like if they, like last night there, that first period, they played awesome, I thought. So if they take it one period at a time and not get out of their heads, I think they'll win. And if you put Campbell back in, play for him. Like, I know he's a new team member. I know it's all new systems there for him and all that, but you'd figure by now, like having a 2 weeks off there, or almost 2 weeks off, that he would have some sort of grasp of what's going to happen in front of him. And, bruise down the communication again. Like you got to talk to your players, especially in game, because anything can happen. Like from period to period, you see something off, you talk to the guys in front of you, hey, clear out a lane, or just get the puck out of my out of my area type of deal, and way you go off to the races. But I think I don't know what historically they're against the Rangers are, but I think against versus New York or versus the Islanders, pardon me, I think they're very good, so they're historically they're very good there in Long Island. So yeah, just as you said there, Connor, if Connor shows up and gets, if we see mad Connor, like pissed off Connor, look out, and I think, yeah, I something's got to give, and it could happen tomorrow night. I Maybe you hit on something there with Connor having a big night.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a big game, whether it's in Long Island or New York. He'll have a big game. We'll see. Could be both. Yeah. You know what I love about Connor's game this year? He's like his shooting more. Like he just I don't know if he'll make 50 and 50. He's off the pace now, but I think he'll make 50 for sure. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't. I mean, he's definitely he changes his game just little by little every year, just enough to make it happen. And so, we'll see what happens. They got to win. They got to win both. Like in my mind, they need to get a little separation between them and that 500 mark. It's going to be good for the confidence. They need to play a good one for Jack Campbell. I don't know if they don't win both. I'm not at that point where I'd be prepared to hit the panic button. I mean, this is a team that has the firepower to go on a good streak, right? Like as we saw last year, right? You just get them going. I think Woodcroft is still the guy. Like I still trust in Woody, right? Like I still trust he's going to do all the right things. I think he's a player's coach. I think he's got those things down pat. I think they might want to look at trying out a different defensive system, or pairings, or bring somebody else in. They got a few things they need to do. It all boils down to they're scoring enough goals, puts them in the top half, but they're letting in too many goals. Get that goal differential up, and they'll be successful. How they do that, I mean, that to me is a, I've said it, it's a personnel issue. I don't think that they can do it with this squad. I think they can be a playoff team with this squad. I just,
The other thing there's, I forgot to add there, Mike. The other thing was playing disciplined and staying out of the penalty box.
Yeah, I'm like some of the penalties lately though have really just driven me mad. I've tried to stay away from that because honestly, you're not complaining about the refs unless you're losing games, and every team and everybody in the league thinks the refs are out to get them. But holy shit. Like, come on, that penalty against Connor? I mean, I don't know. You just, like, I really, 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 like, don't want to believe that there's any type of, bias in the league or anything like that. But if you're going to, call some of those hooks, like, early on in the game, at least be consistent.
Yep.
Right? Like
that's what I said in the wrap up there versus Vegas. Just in the first they couldn't stop blowing the whistle, and then the third there they couldn't pick it up. Like
and here's the other thing is like you call the ticky tack goal penalty early against Edmonton, and Edmonton never gets the first power play. It feels like, right? Like they'll get one after they've given up two. And ticky-tack calls, and I believe it, DeBruskis said it. He said, like, he thinks that he wonders, he wondered out loud, are the referees not calling those penalties against Edmonton because Edmonton's got such a great power play?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it's bullshit. It's absolutely
Just call it fair.
ridiculous. How you can't prove that? You can't. There's nothing to say because I think, when you call penalties is as much to blame on how a game's managed as to, the amount of penalties. Like I've seen it where the Oilers end up with as many penalty calls, in their favor as against, but they'll do it like, they'll call it at the end of other team's power play, right? Or like where it'll even it up, so you don't get the power play.
Yeah, a makeup call. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just. I get pissed off during games we win, and I want to think that it's just me being an Oilers fan, putting on my Oilers underwear and thinking the refs are biased.
Yeah.
But holy shit. Right? Like if I see another one of those calls against Connor when like that kind of shit at a minimum happens against him, half dozen times a game. I mean, it's garbage. Somebody brought up the other day, maybe they need to have the refs doing a presser after the end of every game. Right?
Yeah. Asked the hard-hitting questions and why wasn't this called or why was all this ticky-tack bullshit out in the open? And
just give some consistency, right? That's it.
Yeah.
That's all anybody really wants, right? If you're going to call ticky-tack calls, call them all game. Or call them for one period and don't call them the next period, but call them.
Yeah.
Call them for everybody. Don't call them in any one specific order, right? Like how many, I don't know. I'd love to, if I had the time and the energy, I'd put some thought into, how you could see if there's some bias there. I don't have the time or the energy. It just really, Neil brings up the no icing call on Hyman on YouTube. I mean, look, it just, it feels a lot like it's been a little one-sided. And, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm, like I said, I always temper that with, I'm putting on my Oilers, glasses, and that's how I see the game. I do try to look at it though objectively, and I hope that I can get that through. Right now, looking at it, and it's coming from an Oilers fan, right? It looks incredibly, not incredibly, but just enough lopsided that a 3-2 game just isn't good enough for the Oilers when they're playing against a little bit of a bias.
Yeah.
I'll say it. You put me on that. I try not to say it. I try not to talk about that shit because everybody will complain that, look, you're being one-sided. You're starting to sound like Stauffer or somebody, right?
Homer.
But, like
good old Homer.
Good old Homer. And maybe I am. I'll put it out there. Maybe I am. But it jacks me up. It gets me pissed off. When I'm watching the game, if I'm by myself or somebody, like I'm just getting mad. I'm just getting furious and frustrated. And, bugs the hell out of me. All right, I've said my piece. I'm going to say, again, check out heavyhockey.com. The guys are putting a lot of articles out there as usual. We are on Google News now, so you might see some articles come by on Google News. Check that out. Eric Friesen, Ryan Lotzberg, Kirk Morris here. Kirk does Paddle Down podcast. We've got the World Hockey Report. They're doing weekly podcasts, and make sure you follow them on Twitter because they're pretty hilarious most of the time. A little shout out to our guy Kelly from Beer League Heroes, who tunes in most weeks and was one of my original guests here. Love the guy. Kelly puts out lots of Oilers content as well, so make sure you check that out. Also, he's got some great tees, some great T-shirts that have always been. My favorite was the Fuck Kessler T-shirt that that I still have in my. I still wore. I wore it to Anaheim when they were in town. Kessler wasn't there, but a lot of Anaheim fans got their picture with me when I wore that. So that was a lot of fun. So anyway, check out heavyhockey.com. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And as always, I put Mike on mute and my mic on mute, and let somebody else get the last word. It's probably the most painful part of my day. I will give that to you tonight, Kirk. Thanks for joining me. It was a lot of fun. You get the last word. You're on.
Thank you, sir. Thanks again for having me on as usual. I I just hope everybody out there in oil country just takes a deep breath, have a smoke, have a drink, have a sandwich, have some dip, and just take a deep breath. And it's only a quarter way in. You remember last year how bad it was there in that one stretch. It happens. We have peaks and valleys in every season. Trying to keep it optimistic there, and just yeah, you can't get bent out of shape. Or like I said there before, the parity in the league is right now is ridiculous. There's very little separation. I think the next 25 games will definitely tell the tale, or should tell the tale. And I think the boys will I hope that all the boys will get together and pull out a heater there, pull out a 10-game heater. Wouldn't be a bad thing there right now. Yeah, once again, shout out to everybody there listening to us there. Whatever streaming device you have there, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, here on YouTube. I can't thank everybody enough for checking out our stuff. And shout out to Raju there, Ragu. I can't remember the guy's name there. The newest member of our team there, of our heavy hockey family. Shout out to him. He's been a welcome addition so far here. And make sure to tune in to everybody. Tune in to World Hockey Report there. I think it's tomorrow at noon. Cody goes live. He's got a hell of a show. Give them some love. Give Philly Pete some love there. If you're into betting, check out his stuff there. We retweet his stuff all the time. And thanks again to everybody. We can't appreciate everybody enough. Good night, everybody.
Oilers Live